Hello, listeners of the Stories Philippines podcast. I'm Alex, your host, and welcome to our very first episode. Today, I have an incredibly spine-chilling tale to share with you, sent in by one of our silent listeners who wishes to remain anonymous. This story took place in the secluded town of Silang, Cavite, and it's one you won't forget easily. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's dive into this eerie experience. The house in the middle of nowhere. Our story begins in an old house located in Silang, Cavite. Picture this, it was the only house in the area, surrounded by dense woods, coffee plantations, and cacao trees. Locals referred to this isolated spot as Pulo. Our listener's family lived in this house for several years, experiencing countless creepy events. They got used to these occurrences because they had no other choice. They eventually sold the house and moved to another location in Cavite due to the bad luck they encountered there. Even their friends, who often visited, had their own share of creepy experiences. The eerie surroundings. Living in a house surrounded by nature sounds peaceful, right? Well, not when the very environment seems to be against you. The thick woods around the house were so dense that even the daylight struggled to penetrate through the canopy. The coffee and cacao plantations, which should have added a touch of serenity, instead added to the gloom. The isolation of the house made it feel like a completely different world, a world where the unknown lurked in every shadow. The unforgettable encounter. Our story sender was a student back then, attending morning classes. After school, they would often nap in the afternoon, usually alone in the house. It was during these times that they frequently experienced sleep paralysis. Imagine lying in bed unable to move, feeling a strange creature, either sitting on you or standing at the foot of your bed. This figure was all white, faceless, and had long hair, but it was hard to tell if it was male or female. Even now, our listener feels a chill recalling these events. These episodes happened so often that our listener became somewhat familiar with the creature. During these events, they were conscious and tried desperately to wake up and move. If that didn't work, they would pray and eventually they would break free from the paralysis and wake up. As time went on, our listener got so frustrated that they began cursing at the creature and challenging it during these episodes. A regular occurrence. Over time, these eerie encounters became a regular part of our listener's life. Imagine having a daily routine that includes confronting a faceless, ghostly figure. It's enough to drive anyone to the brink of fear, yet our brave storyteller stood their ground. The frustration of these repeated encounters grew, leading to a point where they would openly challenge the ghostly figure, daring it to show its true self. This defiance was both a coping mechanism and a way to reclaim a sense of control in an otherwise uncontrollable situation. The scary bathroom incident. One evening, our listener was bonding with their father and brother over drinks. They were not drunk, just a bit tipsy. They went to the bathroom to relieve themselves, and suddenly they felt a push. Their face slammed against the wall, and it felt like someone was rubbing their face against it. They struggled to break free and ended up with cuts and scratches on their face. They knew it was that same creature from before. Angry and annoyed, they cursed at it again, saying they didn't have time for its games. When they returned to their father and brother, they noticed the injuries on their face, but didn't explain what had happened. Now, here's where it gets even creepier. The bathroom was next to a tree, and there were stories about a woman who had been hanged there long ago. Our listener wasn't sure about the details, but the sinister presence felt all too real. The chilling tree. The tree next to the bathroom had a haunting aura. The locals whispered tales of a woman who had met a tragic end there, either by her own hand or through some dark ritual. The tree stood as a silent witness to the horrors of the past, its branches swaying ominously in the wind as if recounting the sorrowful story. This tree wasn't just a part of the bathroom's surroundings. It was a constant reminder of the haunting presence that seemed to linger around the house. And harmful interactions. There were many experiences in the house where the entity physically interacted with the family to the point of being harmful. If anyone from Silang, Cavite is listening, they might know the exact location our listener is talking about. Last time our listener decided to visit the house with their wife, they found it still standing but looking very gloomy and sad, as if in mourning. They weren't sure if anyone was living there, but the house had changed physically. It looked much creepier than they remembered when they lived there. They hoped the new occupants were okay. The haunted location. Some locals believe that the area is home to various supernatural beings like white ladies, San Telmo, St. Elmo's fire, Kapre, a tree giant, Tikbalang, a creature with a horse's head, and many others. The very land itself seemed to be a magnet for the supernatural. This wasn't just one ghostly encounter, it was a hotspot for the unexplained and the terrifying. A visit back. Years after moving away, our listener decided to visit the old house with their wife. As they approached, a wave of nostalgia mixed with dread washed over them. The house still stood there, but it was different. It appeared more gloomy, as if the very walls carried the weight of sorrow and despair. Changes to the structure were evident, but the haunting atmosphere remained. They didn't see anyone around, and they hoped that whoever lived there now was doing okay. It was a stark reminder that some places never truly let go of their past. Listeners, what can we learn from this chilling story? Respect the unknown. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, it's essential to respect places with eerie reputations. Sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. Trust your instincts. If you feel something is wrong or off about a place, trust your gut feeling. It's always better to avoid potentially dangerous situations. Speak up. If you experience something strange, don't be afraid to share it with others. You might find out you're not alone in your experiences. That's all for today's episode of the Stories Philippines podcast. Stay safe, and until next time, keep your ears open for more spine-tingling tales from our beautiful yet mysterious country. Thank you for joining me for our very first episode. Your host signing off.